Check out this old gem I just picked up. I was just going to change the oil on. It hasn't been running in a few years, and who knows how long it's been since it was changed. The oil isn't just totally incinerated, but it's not exactly nice looking either. So before I even try to start it, I'm just changing the oil. And this gas is something else, I'll tell you what. Anyways, of course, these quads are different. They use what is known as a dry sump system, I believe, where the oil is, like the engine oil, is held in this container, not held in the bottom of the crank, like basically every other quad on the face of the earth, and trike. So that means I'm going to have to drain that deal. Then apparently there is a plug on the crank that, you know, just the low spot or whatever, it just holds like a cup or something. Also, there is a little screen at the bottom of this tank, way in the back. It's apparently a real doozy to get to. Unless you take the tank off, then it's easy. But really, there is only 2 bolts holding that tank on. And then you gotta fight with hoses, but... oh yeah, okay. Well, it's not that bad. Alright, here's that screen I'm talking about. This is where it's located, I should say. So I'm going to loosen that hose clamp and pull that hose off of that nipple. Then I'll be able to unscrew this other thing that has the screen on the end of it that goes in the oil tank. Well, despite the extreme messy nature of just about every single one of my buildings, I do like to keep my important engine components clean. Well, I finally got this hose off. I forgot I had this thing. I was fighting with it with the normal pliers and just my hand, and oh man, I just could not get that hose off. And finally, yeah, oh yeah, I got this thing with maximum effort. I got it to pop off, and it didn't wreck the hose, which is awesome. So, although I kind of completely forgot to drain the oil and just got excited and took that hose off, and yeah, oil just started erupting out of that nipple. That screen can't be that plugged if oil free flowed out of there that quick. Caught about half of it at least. There, I did you guys a favor and turned my Stabila shot back on. Anyways, I got a 19 mil flat wrench on there. I'm using a second one for some extra leverage. Definitely needed that extra leverage. Alright, what does this screen look like? Ooh. To be honest, it looks really clean except for that one chunk of gunk. There's a little bit of gunk right here in the ends. Gasket maker. That's what it is. I'll get 2 hands and really do her good. Got that all buttoned back up. Now it's time to drain the rest of the oil that didn't manage to get out, which should have been the first step, but you know, we just do things kind of as they flow. Well, we got that off. It was a little over tightened. Here's the drain plug. It's got a magnet on the end. Got kind of a nice collection of gunk on there. No big chunks or anything, but definitely some very fine shavings on it. There, you can get a better idea of it there. Magnetic oil. Alright, now to get to the drain for the crank. There you go. Remove this bolt. There's supposed to be a second one up here, but it is broken off. You can see right there. Supposed to be able to slide this out of the way. Sliding. I believe that's our bolt. Drains the oil out of the crank. I'm just going to leave my cover flipped down like this. In order to pull it right out of there, I think you'd have to get that brake pedal out of the way, which requires taking out that pin back there, and that should allow the brake pedal to just fall all the way down. Bah, we don't need to do that. Really, the only purpose of getting this out of the road is just so you can see your bolt, I guess. I don't know. The world's smallest hands, you can't really get at the bolt from right here. So I am choosing to go from underneath to remove the bolt. It's still good I took this off because I'll be able to at least see the bolt and see what I'm doing. I just realized this thing actually has a friggin' skid plate, which I have to remove to get that bolt out of there. I'm probably going to take that off and just leave it off, at least for now. I mean, I've never, of all the quads I own, none of them actually have a skid plate, but I might put it on again someday. So there's like 2,000 bolts for that. Here, there's a big cluster of them. And then I'm assuming a couple on that side. And then these 2 in the front just kind of folds up. These are super awesome. Of course, I'm missing that side though. Well, got her out of there. and quite a bit of oil came out. Like apparently a large cup is supposed to be in there, but I honestly feel like there was more in mine. So yeah, I'm just gonna let her drip for a while now. Then we gotta go through a goofy priming procedure so that we don't just blow the engine up when we put fresh oil in it and start it. And it requires plugging off some vent line at the top of the oil tank or something. We'll look at it when I get the light over here when I'm done draining the oil. But I guess while that's draining, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get to the carburetor here. Looks like I got to remove the air box. This thing is just zip tied on, really. There, and it's still further back. Yeah, I'm going to have to remove the tank. Alright then, I guess I'm going to have to take these plastics off and we'll check it out when we get under that. Alrighty, now I think I just have to remove these two back bolts. I believe the tank just kind of pushes into a couple of slots there. And then we'll maybe be able to get to the fuel line a little easier. I just thought about it too. The smell of this gas reminds me of the old jerry can that you find in just the furthest recesses of your cluttered yard that you haven't seen in 10 plus years. And it's got a little bit of gas left at the bottom. That smell. Yet it looks really clear. Alright, well I just realized that this one, the fuel valve here, is actually connected to the bottom of the tank. I thought it was a separate unit like the 700. I don't know why, isn't this one? Yeah, this one's connected to the bottom of the tank too. For some reason I thought it wasn't, so I guess we got to remove that hose right there. And I really don't want to fight with that little hose clamp right there, so I think I would rather pop it off of this fuel filter here. As you can see, it's kind of just barely even pooped on there, if I can get a good angle. Right there. Take it off right there, and I don't know, I'll go ahead and blow out this fuel filter too. Oh, holy smokes, man, this hose feels like mush. I kid you not, man, it feels like absolute mush. I might have to put some new fuel line on it too. Maybe that's part of the issue, it can't suck up any fuel. We'll investigate that further when we get the tank off. Real quick, do I have any hose that would work for that? I don't think I do. I just got a bunch of that big crap. Well, that's unfortunate. Check this out. I didn't know you could do this. I went and took the screw off and tried to pull this handle off here, but then realized it's all just on a spring. Just pull it back and not allow it to pop back onto the actual fuel valve right on the tank, and there you go. That's disconnected. When you put her back on, you just slap her right back on. Wow, that's thinking, Polaris. Oh man, remember how I said that gas doesn't look that bad, but it smells bad? Man, that gas is pretty yellow, and there was some residual stuff hanging out in this hose here, and it was solid dark green. I kid you not. That's some raunchy old gas. There we go, now we'll get a good look at it. What does it look like? Oh yeah. There's water in there even, I think. That is just so nasty. Oh yeah, look at that. You can actually see the camera ain't really picking it up, but you can see the yellow and green haze. Pour a little bit of that right at the corners of my doors where the mice are always crawling in. See if that eliminates mice from coming in for a little while. I'll just let that puppy drain. Anyways, now we've got a clear shot to the carburetor and the spark plug in the upper cylinder here. Now if I were smart, I'd probably do a valve adjustment and change that plug, but I don't think I'm going to bother. We'll at the very least make sure it's got spark, but I'm going to take the carburetor off first and then we'll check that. Which looks like A Phillips right there at the front boot, which is not cracked at all on the outside. Pretty stiff though, I don't know if it's supposed to be that hard, but. And another clamp, which is a flat for the rear boot. Pop this fuel line off of here, and everything should be hunky-dory to pull off of there. I guess we got these vents. There, vents removed. These cables, I'll just leave on there, because I'll probably just flip it up here and then I'll take the float bowl off. And it looks like it's a vacuum slide style of carburetor. We'll have to make sure that's operating freely. Make sure the diaphragm ain't cracked or anything. Well, this situation right here is just absolutely stinking out the whole shop. But on the plus side, we got the carb free. Ended up removing the 2 bolts holding the air cleaner on, and the air cleaner slid off of the back of the carb here. And that just made it 100 times easier to slip it out of the front boot and pop it out of there. First things first, I'm going to take the cap off for the slide. Pull the slide out, and then I'll tip it upside down and take this bowl off and see what kind of treats we got in there. There's a quick thing I noticed though. My spark plug wire is a little rough looking. Now, I don't think there's really anything for that to leak voltage to, but if it got wet, that would definitely start causing issues. So I'm going to have to get myself a new plug wire, I guess. I believe they are changeable. I think. I thought they were. Oh yeah, I think you just unscrew it. Oh yeah, that's what you do, okay. Well, I'm not going to take it off until I got a new one. Oh. Poured mint stale gas all over my clutch cover there, made her nice and shiny. Anyways, I guess I should probably put those drain plugs back in before I forget. I'll update you when I get that carb apart. Alright, well, it's a darn good thing I decided to remove the slide, because it was stuck in there pretty good too. I had to get my finger up in here and actually push up on it pretty good before it violently popped out and landed on the floor. Then I proceeded to drop the actual fuel metering needle out of it. It's got a little dirt on it, but look at all that gunky green crap on it. Oh, it's just like green tar. It's amazing. I'm gonna have to clean this thing up really good and make sure it slides totally freely in and out of there. The diaphragm looks pretty good. I don't see any cracking. It's still super soft. That's good. It's a good idea to take those out before flipping the carb upside down, because then you kind of minimize the potential of getting gas up on this thing. Although I believe it should be able to handle gas, but we're just being safe. Anyways, now I'll get the bowl off and see what we got in there. Ooh. What old quad wouldn't come without a carburetor that has float bowl screws that are way over tightened and rounded off? 2 of them I were able to get out with the screwdriver, but, well, all 4 of them I had to crack loose with the trusty old vice grip, but 2 of them weren't rounded off enough to use the screwdriver, but one of them I was just barely able to get out though. The Lord had my back and I got her out. So now it's time to pull this float bowl off. What are we gonna find? A super green carburetor. Oh, look at that. She's solid green, boys. Solid green with chunkers and all. Oh man. Look at that. And look at that marvelous looking main jet. Oh, it's just straight gunk. Everything in here is straight gunk. How much you willing to bet that the needle and seat's stuck? I mean, the float's even stuck. Look at that. Just barely moves. Whew. My buddy is like ATV and snowmobile mechanic, and he gets this professional grade Honda carburetor cleaner. He said that just absolutely melts any little impurities in your carburetor, but you can't get it on your hands or it'll literally rot the joints in your bones. So you gotta be careful with it, but it'll come in handy for this carburetor, that's for sure. I'll show you it when I go grab it. I got the float off. That float pin was very stuck. It wasn't even seized, it was just... Anyways, I just had to take another look at this, man. Just sit there and appreciate that. Look at that. I don't think I've ever seen a carb this dirty. I've seen pretty bad carburetors. The old Articat 250 was pretty bad after sitting for about 6 years, but not quite as bad as this. Like, it's literally just growing in here. Look at, there's a goober even just hanging out of that idle jet there. Alright, here's the idle jet. Totally plugged, as you can see. There's no way gas was getting through that baby. Here's the main jet. Same thing, completely plugged. Here's the needle. Honestly, it doesn't look that bad. Here's the seat assembly. And that little screen's actually very clean. Inside of it's just kind of a gunky. Well, here's the carburetor cleaner in question. Got all the good labels on it. There we go. Let that soak, except I gotta wipe it off with a gasket there. I'm sure it'll probably wreck it. Well, it's been soaking all night, and look at how green that is. And on the needle here, I had to mess around with this little springy deal here on the end because it was right stuck. Basically would just spray that carburetor cleaner on it, and since you shouldn't really touch it, I was holding it with the needle nose and then pushing this down with this little pick here. Eventually I got it to work perfect. I was starting to wonder if I wouldn't be able to get that working. She's super cleaned out. I think she's ready to go back together. I also sprayed and wiped this plunger deal down. Of course, I didn't get any carb cleaner on the diaphragm. This slide works absolutely perfect in here now. Look at that. A lot better than it was, I'll tell you that much. Time to dump out the contents here. Oh yeah. Look at that. It just melted that stuff, gone. It'll be loosened right up now and I'll be able to just blow it out with the air compressor. Alright, final product. Perfectly clean. It was absolutely effortless. This is the main jet and the idle jet. There you go, see, you can see right through her. Now I'm going to slap her back together. I'll update you then. Well, I ended up utterly destroying the seal for the seat here, but for the first time ever, my O-ring kit finally came in handy. Usually it never ever has the right size for anything. Well, she's all back together. I did end up having to push that float down just a little bit. And by that I mean bending that little tang up with the needle, or yeah, the needle sitting on. I got that float bowl on. I just gingerly snugged up those screws as much as I could. But yeah, those don't have to be that tight. If it leaks, and you got to get a new seal. Don't just go cranking those up to 7 million foot-pounds. Alright, she's all buttoned back in. And here's the fuel line that was coming off of the fuel filter going to the fuel pump. Remember how I said it felt weird? As if it was totally collapsed. You're not going to really be able to see in there, but it is totally mushy collapsed in there. I kid you not. This side was the same way. It kind of fell apart as I was trying to pull it apart there. I ended up just cutting it so it would pop off of there. But anyways, look at that. That's what the inside of that hose looks like. There's not even a hole for the fuel to go through anymore. 11th month, 20th day, 1994. So I went ahead and ran to town pretty much specifically to get this hose. Chopped that just a little bit longer so I got some wiggle room. All the other hoses are pretty much just as bad. It's like absolutely rock hard right here at the carburetor, but then you get over here, it gets really mushy again. The closer you get to the fuel pump, the mushier it gets. So I guess we're changing all 3 fuel lines, so I'll update you when that's done. I guess then we'll probably move on to checking the spark and getting a little oil in that cylinder. Also tape up this plug wire a little bit here, just for temporary. Alright, all brand new fuel lines. I forgot to do the one on the tank yet, but I'll do that when I get the tank over here. Anyways, look what I noticed last night. I forgot to point this out. Somebody said, "More power, please." Figured maybe I should go ahead and put the oil in and let it sit for a while. Maybe that'll help the pump priming process later on. This is the oil I got for it. I know lots of you are probably going to scream at me that it's not the right oil and it's not the PS4, and this is what I'm putting in it. It's 540 synthetic. It's not like it needs to be dry clutch compatible or anything. Alright, you can see I got a boatload of transmission fluid in there. Well, there's really not that much. I just put a few good gurgles and then pulled the rope slowly until it pooped up into the spark plug area like that. Not sure how I'm going to get that out of there yet. I might have to fire up my pump just to get some of the excess. Or just go all out and throw some paper towel on top and just give the pull rope a good yank and blow it out. Might just do that. Can't remember if I pointed this out already, but I did not get a key with this quad. Although the guy said he has the key, you just gotta find it. So, not sure how long that's gonna take. So I figured, well, what the heck, we'll just rob the ignition and key right out of this old quad. Since it blew another rod bearing, it's kind of out of commission now, so. Alright, got her out. Now just to slap it into this one. My poor quad, it was running so nice too. Alright, time to wire it in now. And don't be afraid of this wiring block. I've come to find that it is all color coded. So all I gotta do is to say, okay, well, I got a red wire with a white stripe. Just look for a terminal block in this thing here that has red with a white stripe. And so on. Plain red wire, we'll look for plain red wires. Remember, it might be, no, brown is down there. Black is up here, so that black will probably go right there. Not too sure where this red's gonna go. I'll have to actually get in there and look, but it's not that scary in there. Unless, of course, somebody over the years has rewired it and not used the right colors. Mix the colors all up and stuff. Then it could be a nightmare. Alright, she's all nestled in there. What happens? I don't see any lights. Nothing is happening. Check, make sure nothing's getting hot and melting. Woo! Oh, there goes my transmission fluid. Okay, well, I guess the light just doesn't work. None of the lights. Well, that's not a big deal. Let's see if the all-wheel drive light works. Nope. Oh, this is on. Oh, it does! Oh my Lanta, look at that. Now if you press the override when it's in reverse, then it turns on. Okay, well, that's awesome. Starter works. Woo! Wasn't expecting that. This starter clutch is a little sticky too. Wow, did that ever blast? Woo! I think I'll just give her some ginger pulls. She's starting to suck in there, that's not good. There we go. Oh, look at that, we even got oil pumping out of here. I didn't have to prime no pump. I don't know. I'd say that's a primed oil pump. Let's pump it up to the filter. Well, that wasn't hard. Well, I got the plug back in. Now I can hear what it sounds like with compression. Well, that sounds like she's got some thump to her. Well, the oil's just pumping out of there. I don't know. I seriously think that's primed. I kind of put way too much oil in, so I'm making sure I got all the air out of the system, and I'm kind of pumping out my excess oil. Oh, should have got something to the top end by now. Oh, coolant. I never even thought of the coolant. It's definitely low. I checked it when I first got it. Alright, you can see my minty awesome repair there. Now we're going to test some spark real quick before I put the gas tank back on. Oh yeah. Nice and blue. Alright, moment of truth. Let's see if she pumps. Doesn't seem to pump. Well, I'm going to play around a little bit with this. Alright, well, we're just jumping straight up head first right into this fuel pump here. Luckily, the diaphragm actually looks okay. Let's see what happens when I crank it. We got hand warmers. Look at that. I must have turned one of them on when I took them off of that thing. Yeah, right here. Look at that. Good thing that didn't short. There goes the power. Oh, there is the power. I've got a storm out to the south there and it looks pretty intense. It's not coming my way though, but power is still being affected. You know what? I'm just going to play with this fuel pump for a little bit. Looks like I just got one more screw to take off there and I'll be able to pull this lower section apart. I see gas down in there. So yeah, if gas is in there, that probably means that diaphragm ain't working right. Unless it's plugged from here to here. Well, that storm finally made it here. Directly above us now. Hey Junior, we better hide out in the shop. Well, I got this thing apart. This diaphragm wasn't coming off without getting ripped, so I don't really know what's going on under there, if they got some sort of valves in there or what. But basically I just sprayed a bunch of that carb cleaner in both these outlets in here, shook it around, blew it out, did it a few times. I don't know. We're going to see if it works now. I've probably indefinitely ruined the pump by doing that, but hey, it was already ruined anyways. Worth a shot. Maybe I loosened up these old stiff diaphragms and make them want to work a little better. Maybe unclog some stuff in there. Slap her back together and we'll see what happens. Well, lo and behold, she's pumping now. Not sure if that's as much as it's supposed to be pumping. You'd think it would gush out a little bit more than that, but hey, it's working. We'll see if it runs at that now. Alright, moment of truth. Got the fuel line hooked up. Or choke. Tools are falling off. She's running. Boy, she smells like she hasn't been running for a long time. Did idle without choke yet? Oh yeah. She's trying. Boy, is it ever quiet, man. That clutch hardly makes any sound at all. Well, she revs right up. No bogging. Right on. Awesome. funny how it's only like a quarter full, but you can see it's pumping away. Boy, it sounds good. Holy smokers. Sounds so good. The oil's probably still majorly over full. It is so hazy in here. It smells like old stale gas and transmission fluid and just the whole 9 yards. Well, I'm calling her a night. She's a runner, and she's a good runner, except for it seems to cut out. Almost as if the reverse rev limiter's kicking in or something. It's kind of weird. It always just reaches a certain RPM and just kind of starts to cut out. That's as high as I can get it to rev. I'm going to bed. Well, it's the next night. I did some research last night, and apparently the exhaust lobe on the camshaft is a very common thing to wear out on these engines and quite a few other Polaris's. Alright, from this angle you can kind of see how much it's worn down compared to the intakes. Intakes are on the side there. See that one hiding right there. Look at that, man. Like, I'd say a good friggin' 70% of that's worn down. Or at least 60% of it. So no wonder she wouldn't rev. She couldn't get anything out. So I went ahead and went on Amazon and found a Niche or Niche. I don't know how to pronounce it. I went ahead and got a Niche cam and the exhaust rocker. Because the intakes are totally fine. As you can see here, you can see where it's been making contact with the lobe, but I mean, I'm calling it good for now. But the exhaust is really what's looking pretty here. Look at that baby. It's all chewed up, and you can definitely feel it, man. Like especially on this side. It's like a nice pit. Over here it's just like a little bit of a flat spot. So that's pretty wild. It was like 40 bucks for that rocker and 110 or something for the camshaft. Went ahead and phoned Polaris today to price out a cam, and it was going to be like $450, man. Which is probably an acceptable price for it, I don't know. To get perfect guaranteed 100% quality, but I ain't about to spend that much, man. We'll go ahead and try the cheap stuff. I guess that'll be the backbone of this channel, is trying out cheap parts and seeing if they work good. Oh. Now, where in the goofballs did my wand go? Okay, I'm just gonna stop this. Hopefully I didn't get transmission fluid on my lens. Oh, that one was loud. Ah! Ooh, I don't like that sound in here. Oh. After I got it running there and it wasn't running right, I went ahead and did some... Okay, I gotta do this over. Kind of get a little bit of an angle on it there. I got 50 mosquitoes on me. Boy, that angers me. Stupid things are going to crank my ceiling fans, and it's got to be belligerent and noisy.